Welcome everybody. Good morning. My name is Medhat Mahdi, and I'd like to welcome each of you, the Honourable Monty McNaughton, the Honourable Jill Dunlop, Member of Provincial Parliament Jane McKenna, invited guests, members of the media, and members of our YMCA family here for today's Ontario government announcement. It's my pleasure to host this event and to formally introduce Ms. McKenna in my capacity as the President of YMCA Ontario and as President and CEO of the YMCA of Greater Toronto. Jane McKenna is the Parliamentary Assistant to the Honourable Monty McNaughton, Minister of Labour. A longtime resident of Burlington, Ms. McKenna previously had the honour of serving her community as a Member of Provincial Parliament from 2011 to 2014. At Queen's Park, she served as the Ontario PC Critic for Economic Development, Trade and Employment, Government Services, and Children and Youth Services. She is passionate about giving back to our community and has joined with other community-minded friends to launch My Community Matters, an initiative aimed at assisting those in need by connecting them with donors looking to provide support. She was elected the new Member of Provincial Parliament for Burlington on June 7, 2018. I am pleased to invite her formally to introduce Minister Dunlop. Please join me in welcoming Ms. McKenna.
Thank you so much. I'd first just like to say I obviously am from Burlington, but when I was a little kid at 10, my mother had passed and the YMCA was 2 blocks from our house. We spent so much time there, my identical twin sister and I. It's such a welcoming place. I run by there every day now still, and the CEO, Jim Comerford, is absolutely phenomenal there. So I'm always grateful for the Y and all the things that you do. It's a wonderful, wonderful place to be, and it was very much part of my childhood. I have great pleasure. It's an absolute thrill to be with Minister McNaughton. I absolutely love that I was to continue on as PA in Labour, but Monty was actually my seatmate, and my second seatmate this time coming in was Minister Dunlop. She is an absolute pleasure and a joy, and she is now Minister for Children and Women Issues, and she is doing a phenomenal job at that. And so Jill, come on up and say a few words.
Thank you very much to my good friend, MPP Jane McKenna. It's great to be here with her today. I'm happy to be at the YMCA this morning with Minister McNaughton to help make an important announcement about our not-for-profit sector. About a month ago, I was at my local Y in Midland, and it's always nice to be back at one of your many facilities. Each day in Ontario, nonprofits are helping the most vulnerable people in our society. The women fleeing violence and finding refuge at a women's shelter, the child who receives counseling support after going through a mental health crisis, the senior who's feeling lonely and joins a community group at their local Legion. There are countless stories across Ontario about the good work that nonprofits do. Since becoming Associate Minister for Children and Women's Issues in June, I've been traveling the province and seeing this work firsthand. Today, I'm proud to say we're putting words into action and demonstrating that our government stands with nonprofits. With that said, I'm going to pass it over to Minister McNaughton to explain how we're doing just that.
Thanks, Jane. Thank you very much, Jane, for that kind introduction. I also want to personally thank my parliamentary assistant and, as Jane said, my first seatmate when we both got to Queen's Park in 2011, Jane McKenna, for her leadership. And I can tell you that the people of Ontario are very lucky to have Jill and Jane serving them. It is a pleasure to be here at the YMCA, an organization that provides so many good services to the people in our communities. I know because I'm a member of my local YMCA. I take my daughter to swimming lessons there every single week. Our government recognizes the role nonprofit organizations play in the lives of Ontario residents every day. From healthcare to childcare, religious organizations to the local Legion Hall, nonprofits are a big part of who we are, and they're a huge part of all of our communities. They also help some of Ontario's most vulnerable citizens. We understand the challenges of running a nonprofit organization. They need affordable, fair, and reliable workplace insurance. That's why I'm so proud today to announce a freeze on all planned WSIB rate increases for Ontario nonprofits. This means that approximately 2,700 community-based organizations that were scheduled to get an increase will now be frozen at their current rate. We're talking about women's shelters, daycares, soup kitchens, art galleries, churches, theatres, nursery schools, food banks, hospices, retirement homes, children's aid societies, animal shelters, museums, rape crisis centres, and the list goes on and on. We learned that some of these organizations were faced with large increases. In the case of local Legion's halls, they were faced with a 300% increase. So we stepped in and we asked the WSIB to stop them. We worked together to make sure that that happened. We're very thankful that the WSIB agreed to that. Every day, nonprofits are there for the people of Ontario. Today, I'm proud to say that our government is with them. We're announcing this measure on the same day that the WSIB is unveiling its new premium rate framework. The experts there say this will add transparency and fairness to the system, and that's a good thing. And it's fitting that those who work hard for others in the nonprofit sector should receive added consideration. I should add that not all nonprofits were scheduled to see their rates rise. In fact, many were scheduled to have their rates decrease, about 1,600 of them in total. Those decreases will still happen as planned when the new rate framework goes into place in January. This is a good news story, and I know we're all very proud and lucky to be a part of that. It's a good news story that falls within another bit of good news, the end of the WSIB's unfunded liability charge, which, as I announced yesterday, will result in $607 million in additional money that will remain in Ontario's economy. This will result in more good jobs, investment in new technology, but most importantly will result in better health and safety programs for workers in Ontario. And it also paved the way for the WSIB's announcement today of a new rate framework. About 3/4 of all employers will see a decrease. Another roughly 1/4 will see their rates go up. The experts at the WSIB, as I said, say the new system is more transparent and fair, and that's good for Ontario. It's only fair, though, that due consideration be given to the extraordinary contribution nonprofit organizations make to this province. Organizations like this very YMCA. Thank you once again to the YMCA for all you do for our families across the province, and thanks for inviting us to make this announcement here today, and we'd be happy to take questions.
Hi, Monty. Just wondering, what will this actually, I get that the unfunded liability is gone, but what will this actually cost the WSIB in terms of foregone premium revenue?
Great. As I announced today, WSIB rates are frozen for nonprofits across the province. This will be an estimated cost of about $17 million in WSIB premiums, but it doesn't impact the $607 million that's being returned to Ontario's economy. I think we have to think in terms and remember that we're talking about soup kitchens, we're talking about YMCAs, we're talking about our local legions. These are vital community organizations that provide so much to families across Ontario and quite frankly to Ontario's most vulnerable citizens. But there's also a huge economic impact to nonprofits in our communities. In fact, nonprofits contribute about $50 billion to Ontario's economic output every single year.
Okay. Is the cost, $17 million probably isn't a lot in the grander scheme of things. Is that they're just absorbing that, or is it spread out among other employers, or how is that working?
Yeah, I think, I mean, the WSIB is laying out their framework today, which will take effect on January 1st, 2020. The WSIB collects billions of dollars in premiums every single year. This won't be felt by businesses across the province, but I do want to reiterate the $607 million announcement yesterday, the announcement of the unfunded liability charge, will lead to better jobs in the province, will lead to investment in new technologies, but most importantly, I want to make it crystal clear that it's going to lead to an investment in better health and safety programs for workers in Ontario.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Great. Thank you, everyone.
No more answers.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Jane.